Good afternoon. Feel good? Good afternoon. Test. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome, classmates, families, friends, alumni, faculty, and staff to Harvard's 2024 Class Day exercises. My name is Fez Zuffer. I'm a senior residing in Dunster House, representing the great state of Iowa. Sounds like the whole state is here. Thank you. And it is my privilege to serve as the first marshal for the Harvard College Class of 2024. Let us embrace this moment. For so many of the 1,713 seniors, tomorrow will serve as the first graduation ceremony we have ever experienced. And after 1,359 days on campus, in addition to 1,200 more in high school, it's been a long time coming. I don't need to convey the significance of this achievement for a class that has endured so much over the course of its Harvard journey. Instead, I want to celebrate each of you for the all-nighters at Lamont, catch-ups in the dining hall, and even the 2 a.m. stops at Hefe's. Please give yourselves a round of applause. In November, as the 2024 class committee gathered for one of its initial meetings, we had an essential task before us: authoring a mission statement for the year ahead. As we reviewed statements by seniors from years past, we encountered messages that emphasized belonging, reflection, diversity, and connection. Values that resonate with every generation of Harvard students. But how could we author a statement that would tell the unique story of the class of 2024? Even then, there was so much to reflect on: fond memories, academic milestones, and of course, the occasional bummer. Now, quite frequently, our wonderful HAA staff liaison, Mr. John Prince, has had to remind me that a first marshal must behave with a certain level of decorum. So today, I will attempt to recall our unconventional Harvard experience with the help of your second marshal, Mr. Chubi Uche. Throughout the year, many have referred to him as my personal anger translator. Let's begin. Our time at Harvard has been interesting, to say the least.
It's been a long 4 years.
Our Harvard journey had a strange beginning, as we were compelled by the pandemic to meet one another, not in person, but virtually. At the same time, we were required to complete COVID tests 3 times a week.
My nose still hasn't recovered.
Many of us attempted to circumvent campus restrictions. Some organized illicit parties by the Charles River. Others chose to report students for organizing illicit parties by the Charles River.
Any of y'all who are on the community council are ops. All of y'all.
As freshman year concluded, we were finally ready to move past the misfortunes that had plagued us. It was especially painful for some, particularly those who were based off campus.
All right, I just got to get this off my chest. I spent the whole year off campus, I didn't have a blocking group, and I got quadded on Zoom!
When we returned to an in-person campus as sophomores, we were finally ready for a year of normalcy. Few of us could expect the impending collapse of the undergraduate council.
But all of us voted for it.
During our junior year, Harvard fought to preserve race-conscious admissions in what had become a 5-year-long court battle, but ultimately lost before the Supreme Court.
You said this was the best law school in the world? Bruh.
And then senior year began. As we entered Harvard for the final time, how could we make sense of what was to come? Unprecedented controversy, a presidential resignation, and campus turmoil unlike any the university had seen in decades.
You know, it's bad when my inability to find a girlfriend wasn't in the top 5 worst things to happen on campus.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Where's my match, Fez?
All right, thank you so much.
Where's my senior?
Please give a round of applause to your second marshal. With all of these reflections in mind, we were keen to form a mission statement that would summarize not only our roller coaster of a college experience, but also the final year we were resolutely determined to have. Through a suggestion from our very own Delaney Jones, we did so in just 4 simple words. It's gonna be electric. And what an electric senior year it was. Our class inflated the social bubble of campus and threw massive parties that drew every genre of Harvard student to some of Boston's finest venues. Hundreds of us transformed the Malkin Gymnasium into a laser tag arena and battled it out with friends as music played in the darkness. We donned the dresses and tuxedos we never wore in high school and recreated the senior prom we never had. We came together to play the biggest game of senior assassins in the history of Harvard, as 900 of us chased each other with HUD spoons across campus, wearing goggles and 2 hats. Even amid all the fun, our class met the moment. As campuses across the country were rocked by discord, we came together for a community dinner for students of different backgrounds, as Muslim and Jewish chaplains united us over a shared meal. That evening, it was clear that in that room, and at least in that moment, the strength of our community prevailed. But the last weeks have underscored that much work remains to be done, leaving a collective uncertainty on all of us, reflective of the last 4 years. Nonetheless, the class of 2024 will depart from Cambridge having together created an enduring and unforgettable impact on the culture and trajectory of the university. As the first class to enter the yard under siege from COVID-19, we have defined Harvard in the post-pandemic era. We have left behind old traditions, started new ones, and charted a course that has left our campus, our home, more inclusive, curious, united, and fun. Today, we have much to celebrate and even more to be grateful for. The teachers, friends, and family members who have collectively uplifted us to the graduation stage. For me, it's my grandparents, Bilkis and Hayat Zafar, Durashavar Zubairi and Masarat Hussein, my parents, Mashal Hussein and Fawad Zafar, and my big, tall brother, Faraz, who have been my guiding voice. Tomorrow, a journey that began in GroupMe chats, Google Drive folders, and Zoom calls will now end as it should, with the traditional pomp and circumstance of an in-person commencement ceremony. And on Friday, we will leave Harvard as newly minted alumni. We will return as leaders, dreamers, innovators, and hopefully donors, toward a better future for us all. Now, as we kick off class day, I think it's time for one more group project to reflect the roller coaster of the last 4 years. So I'm gonna ask everyone to please stand up. I need everyone to stand up. I need the parents, grandparents, all the house deans, Dean Fitzsimmons, Bill, everybody. Okay, Chubby and I are gonna lead you through something a little fun. We are about to perform the roller coaster. It's something very popular in the Midwest and South, and it requires full audience participation. Just as if we're riding a real roller coaster, I need you to join me in putting your harness on. Now, as we prepare to ride this roller coaster, when I swing my arms to the right, I need everyone to go this way. When I go left, I need you to go this way. When I go up, go up. When I go down, go down. And each time you move your arms, I need you to let out a whoa. just as if you're on a roller coaster. And we're going to keep riding this roller coaster, right, left, up, down, and once we finish and start jumping up and down, I need all of you to jump up and let out a cheer for the class of 2024, the kind that's been 2,500 days in the making. Are we ready? Here we go. Now I need you to start stomping your feet on the ground as you're going up. Ready, go, right, left, up, down, right, left, up, down, go! Are we amped up? Get ready for the greatest class day in the history of Harvard. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to now introduce your Denoff Dean of Harvard College, Marvin Bauer Professor of Leadership Development at Harvard Business School, and Professor of Sociology in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Rakesh Khurana.
Thank you, Faz. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, seniors. And also, good afternoon to all the families. I'm so glad, Faz, that you introduced your family. It's amazing to just see everybody here who supported our students. Just on a personal note, my mom is here. And I wish my dad was still here, but like so many family, my parents sacrificed so much, crossed oceans and borders and boundaries over generations to create a better life for their children. And I just want to give gratitude to everybody here who's done the same thing for their children. Let's give everybody here a round of applause. So seniors, tomorrow is a very solemn day. You will be taking part in a 369-year-old tradition. One of my predecessors, who was a dean, described tomorrow as follows: commencement ceremonies are wonderfully ritualistic, full of incantation, and free of explanation. In other words, they're supposed to be self-explanatory, so thank you and good luck. Just kidding. Let me give you a quick preview. So during the commencement exercises, President Garber will confer the degrees upon the university's graduates. First, the PhD and master's degrees will be called. Then, the professional schools will be acknowledged in the reverse order of their founding dates. The deans will make a brief case for each of their school's graduates. And each school will offer their own cheers and be waving their symbolic totems in the air. Then, finally, the most important moment of the entire ceremony will occur. The college, as the oldest and original part of this university, will be called forth. And then we'll get a chance to top them all. We will remind them of the power of our past and the possibilities of our future. So we're gonna make some noise, right? Right? Fantastic. Then, a few minutes later, when you settle down, I will begin with salutations to President Garber, the Fellows of Harvard Corporation, and the Board of Overseers. And after these salutations, I will announce that you will be ready for your graduation. Your families and loved ones will cheer. You will now be the citizens and citizen leaders who have fulfilled the mission of the college. I know, as was just mentioned, that for many of you, this is your first in-person commencement. Back in 2020, many of you said goodbye to your teachers when they delivered lawn signs to your homes, received your high school diplomas in drive-through ceremonies or virtual ceremonies, in school parking lots, or in front of a computer screen. We are so lucky to be able to be here together on this gorgeous, beautiful day to celebrate all that you have accomplished and the people that you have become over these last 4 years. When you started high school, we could never have imagined the unpredictable world in which you would finish high school and begin college. Much has already been asked of you for these past 4 years. We asked you to share your first year at Harvard with the class of 2021, with your incoming class coming to Cambridge in the fall to start your college experience and make friends, and then asking you to make way for a senior class of 2021 so they could spend their last semester together. When your first year of college began with Zoom classes and social distancing, You adapted. You adjusted to a complexity in the daily lives that was unfamiliar to all of us, in which things we had taken for granted disappeared overnight, and a new vocabulary emerged of testing, quarantining, Zooming, social distancing. You embraced new experiences in spite of the uncertainty about how this year would unfold. I remember sitting with some of you on Memorial Church steps eating lunch and being so impressed by the ways that you found to build community. Your socially distant meals in the yard, watching movies on the steps of Widener under blankets when the weather turned colder, using the Weeks Bridge for dance rehearsals. And I remember the ways that you helped your classmates, especially those who weren't able to travel internationally or who had not been on campus, to adjust when they arrived for sophomore year, and the way you reached out and opened your hearts for every single one of them. Your class has had to adapt to Harvard in ways different from any other, and you had to make up for lost time. And you did. Instead of allowing yourselves to be shaped by what you missed, you shaped your own experiences. You built a community without much of the usual scaffolding that brings first-year students together, and found new ways to make Harvard your home. And because of that, I have so much hope for what you are going to accomplish when you leave Harvard. The problems you will be called upon to solve when you leave here will require your commitment, your attention, and your creativity. My very wise mother often tells me that to fix what's wrong, we need to focus on what's right and start there. And so I want to begin today by reminding you what is right about all of you. Despite the challenges of your first year here, you have shaped our community in so many positive ways. You have shown us your intellectual capability, your empathy, your motivation, and your dedication to do what needs to be done in our world. Your hearts are big. You are committed to justice. You won numerous Ivy League championships. You collected prizes and fellowships like no tomorrow. You conducted inspiring research that's been published and recognized. You worked inside and outside the classrooms on climate change. You rebooted the Lamont Cafe. You created Housing Day videos that are Grammy-worthy. Looking at you, Courier. That was pretty amazing. They each outdid each other. The word pride does not do justice to my elation when I remind people about the theses, the research, the concerts, and the plays you performed. And through all of that, you kept El Jefes and Felipe's busy into the late night hours. You have touched each other's lives in countless ways and made an impact on our community and our world. Navigating a world of uncertainty and complexity has made you strong. And as you leave here, I want to encourage you to build on that strength, to recognize that there are no simple solutions to the problems we are facing, and that it is only in embracing complexity that we're going to create the world we want to live in. Back in the fall of 2020, when I welcomed you to Harvard, I talked about the transformational journey ahead and suggested that we could only change the world if we were open to changing our minds. I called on you to listen closely to those who you disagree with, and to try to understand those who are different from you. This is a great privilege of our community, to bring together so many people with different identities, experiences, perspectives. But listening and living across difference isn't easy, and it's often uncomfortable. Over the past few years, I've had many conversations with students and faculty about intellectual vitality and academic freedom on our campus. I've heard passionate concerns about declining freedom of expression on this campus. I've talked with students about their concerns with the narrowing of acceptable speech in the classroom and about their self-censoring, as they feared that they might say the wrong thing, ask the wrong questions, open themselves up to ridicule, criticism, or be canceled. At the same time, I've also had many conversations with students who have come to me to say that certain books or articles should be pulled from a syllabi, that certain topics should not be discussed in the classroom. And I've talked to faculty about their fears that discussions will go out of control on certain topics, and so they don't teach them anymore, even if they might help us understand our contemporary situation. This year, as the events in Israel and Gaza have unfolded, these conversations have gone in some unexpected directions. Some people who had previously expressed concerns about harmful speech became stronger advocates for free expression when they found they wanted to speak out about controversial topics. Conversely, some who had championed absolute free expression found deeper empathy for concerns about harmful speech when they encountered opinions that challenged the line between harassment and protected speech. It is not surprising that the binaries to which we have grown accustomed to could not contain the complexities of this challenging year, and there's never been a more important time for intellectual vitality. On this campus, and indeed in the world beyond this campus, we have been for some time struggling to break out of binary thinking, of organizing the world around those who are innocent and those who are guilty, between those who are right and those who are wrong. Our discussions have become too often framed as me in opposition to you, rather than both of us together, seeking answers. It's hard in these moments to embrace complexity, but we must. The alternative is to remain trapped in binaries that tear us apart and do not allow us to talk about complex problems, let alone solve them. Embracing complexity is at the foundation of a liberal arts and sciences education, and what universities ought to do best. Institutions for open inquiry are foundational to the practice of democracy. Education is meant to enable different people to live together, whose views differ, to challenge each other with ideas rather than fists. We are at a pivotal moment in history when we need to decide whether an institution devoted to the pursuit of veritas, the truth, can remain free from external and internal coercion, whether universities will serve as proxy wars in a polarized society or as part of the solution to this polarization. I believe they can be the latter. I believe that these imperfect bastions of knowledge are essential for fostering an open society and a vibrant, pluralistic democracy. For the sake of our collective future, we must protect these institutions and resist the binary. Binary thinking is not a new phenomenon. Scholars such as Emile Durkheim and Marcel Mauss and Mary Douglas have found that binaries are ubiquitous across various cultures. Contrast, dichotomies, and binaries, it turns out, are the way that cultures often organize the world. Purity and danger, friend or foe, clean or dirty, sacred and profane, rituals and practices, organizations are fundamental. All of these binaries are fundamental to human thought and therefore get embedded in our rituals and practices. These binary symbols help societies structure their experiences and maintain coherence in their worldview. Take yourselves, for example. Tomorrow, you will become a Harvard graduate, afforded the respects and responsibilities of a Harvard College alum, whereas today, the world considers you as students. Dichotomies are not just a problem in and of themselves, they are patterns of perception, and the problem is they harden in our minds, often imperceptibly. When we embrace binary thinking, our observations become oversimplified, and we stop making room for complexity, for continuums, for multiple perceptions. Our reasoning and critical thinking shut down. Implicit biases and intolerance becomes explicit, embedding themselves first in taken for granted norms and then structure. Racism, sexism, and classism persist, and most importantly, we move no closer to solving society's problems. It may seem like we're expressing moral clarity when we identify our position in the binary, good and not evil, on the right side of history and not the wrong side. But if we reach moral clarity without the pursuit of truth, the careful examination of other perspectives, and the thoughtful engagement with each other, then we have only reached a starting point and not the final destination. It is hard, deliberate work to break free from the binaries. As you transition from college students to college graduates, I want to challenge you to continue this work. I hope you will resist the binary and embrace complexity wherever your life takes you. You have already demonstrated that your education here has provided you with the tools required to break away from the framing of complex problems in binary terms. But resisting the binary will not be an easy task. We are living in a world driven by social media, algorithms that reinforce binary thinking. Rage drives engagement, and the algorithms that are served to us are primed to separate us into echo chambers in which adrenaline wins out over nuanced discussion. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian, anti-thinking, amplified by social media, are powerful forces that work against complexity. To resist those forces, I urge you to do what you have done at the college. Surround yourselves with people who see the world differently from you, and sincerely listen to the perspectives they present. You have heard me say many times that diversity on this campus is our strength, and I believe that deeply. On this campus, we have the privilege of living and learning side by side with people from all over the world with different life experiences and different interests. But diversity is only our strength if we can view difference as a positive, not a negative, and if we can understand common ground as well as difference. When we see our diversity as a binary, us versus them, we are not realizing the full potential of our society or our community. Our differences are a source of infinite possibilities and infinite futures. When you leave here, you're going to find yourself working and living alongside people who are different from you, in identity, in goals, in ways of meeting those goals. It's easier to pick a side and stay on the side, to find a team and pledge your allegiance. Take what you learned from your time here and the adaptive abilities you demonstrated during your COVID year here to help you and your future communities avoid the binary trap, which stifles progress, and embrace nuance, common ground, finding solutions to the problems we face. Remember that making change is slow work that comes from building alliances, from understanding the worldview of others who might have just begun the same journey, but at a different origin, based on their own life's journeys, from listening to the voices that exist beyond the binary, being willing to stand up, alone if you have to, for a better tomorrow, not for you, not for them, but for all of us. To embrace complexity rather than the binary and to surround yourself with people of diverse opinion is going to take courage. Creating the world you want to live in can't happen if you're creating a world that others see as the opposite of what they want to live in. It's hard work to realize a vision, and harder still to realize a vision that is shared across difference. But we have to find common ground, and we have to remain open to changing our minds. And so I wish you strength to embark on this next leg of your journey with the same commitment, adaptability, and curiosity you have shown these past 4 years. I have faith in each and every one of you and have cherished being a part of your college journey. May grace fill your life. May Providence guide and protect you. Semper Veritas.
Thank you, Dean Khurana. My name is Audrey Vanderslice, and I serve as the secretary for the class of 2024. It is my honor to introduce our next speaker, Moitri Chowdhury Savard, Harvard College class of '93. Moitri is the incoming president of the Harvard Alumni Association, the HAA. She's the first HAA president of South Asian ancestry in its 184-year history. Moitri is a family physician in New York City and an assistant professor at Weill Cornell Medical College. Since graduation, Moitri has been involved in various forms of public service and currently serves on the board of Planned Parenthood of Greater New York. As her class's Radcliffe first-class marshal, she has relished her rolling up her sleeves with classmates on the reunion and gift committees of her class. She takes joy in interviewing the many bright young students who are interested in the college. She's a member of the Harvard Club of New York and has served in various positions on the HAA since 2013. With that, join me in welcoming Moitri.
Thank you so much, Audrey. Congratulations, class of 2024. Woo! It goes so fast. In 1993, I stood on this stage speaking on class day as a marshal. Harvard dug up that speech, and I listened to my 22-year-old self with big dreams and even bigger hair. I told my classmates that we would be shaping society rather than being shaped by society. The message has not changed much, although the world surely has. I also watched the speech of the incoming president of the Harvard Alumni Association, as I frankly didn't remember what she had said. This time, I listened intently. She told us about the amazing community we were about to join. If the past is any indication, you may forget everything I say. I won't take it personally. But let's see if I can drop a little knowledge that sticks. First, let me start with a little bit about myself. I have been extremely fortunate. My father came to the US from a tiny village in India with almost no money, no job, and a wife and infant. My parents were able to build upon their skills, work hard, and sacrifice tremendously, even in the face of discrimination. In 1978, their home still had a legal restriction saying no person of color could live there, but they were undeterred. They helped bridge the cultural difference that existed with dialogue. Now, although they came to this country speaking English, it was not their first language, or even their second. Dialogue came to take many forms. Cooking, for example. My mom perfected her sausage, peppers, and onions through consultation with our Sicilian neighbors in the 70s. Gustatory delight over animated family meals was a shared value. The dialogue of words and spices brought people together. Like many immigrants, my parents came here and formed a new family with other immigrants who made this country home. This family is part of my rock. I stand on the shoulders of my parents, ancestors, family, friends, and communities, including my inspirational Harvard community. Class of 2024, as you go out into the world, know that you are not alone. You have your rock. Don't worry if you don't yet have a life plan and you see that your classmates have figured it all out. Here's a secret. They haven't yet figured it all out. And the ones who have are on an express lane to an epic midlife crisis. Yeah, all your parents know. They do. Success doesn't require a straightforward path. Mine and most of my classmates didn't. But the curves and the curveballs in your life will need support, and we will be here for you. Rely on your rock when times get hard. And these days, times have been hard. It's been a challenging year in the world and on campus. For those of you who began your Harvard journey in 2020, you have had perhaps the most unique Harvard experience ever. There has been tremendous loss. There have been attacks on higher education. You may have experienced attacks on yourself or on your beliefs. One of the reflections I have of this year is about our motto. Specifically, we need to expand our hearts and minds as we engage in the quest for veritas. This moment requires something more of us, which is to learn to focus on the plural, veritates. We have to be able to simultaneously hold multiple truths and come together as a society to coalesce around our many shared values, particularly freedom of thought and expression, and respect and kindness. We will not all agree, but mutual respect in disagreement is essential. Dialogue across difference is the way to move forward. Silence as a result of the fear of retribution is deadly. Essentially, I'm telling you to not heed the words of Hamilton, and rather talk more and find those shared values. Go into these conversations with courage and compassion. Go into these conversations without fear, knowing you have your rock to lift you up when words, actions, and life bring you down. Use that strong base to ground you so that you can aim even higher for yourself, for your communities, and for the world. After graduation, you will engage in conversations with many more than the 1,700 people in your class. You will be in an alumni community with over 400,000 people around the world and can get involved in activities like special interest groups and clubs in places like New Bedford and New Zealand. Every 5 years, your class will update your stories and enjoy your reunion. Every year, we'll come together during Alumni Day. These activities will be a constant reminder of the fortune that we all enjoy, having had a world-class education. Savor graduation. It goes beyond fast. Be thankful for your fortune and for your rock. Engage in dialogue with the motto of Veritatis, always in mind. Your rock just got stronger with this amazing alumni community. Class of 2024, you got this, and we got you. Welcome to the club.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Fallon.
My name is Andrea Fernandez.
And my name is Ellen Dang.
And we are 3 of your 6 Harvard College Fund Marshals. As we gather today for Class Day and soak in our final memories before commencement, I want to take a moment to reflect on the years we have enjoyed on campus. So please raise your hand if you attended a house formal, if you maybe pulled an all-nighter in Lamont Library, if you wrote your thesis and maybe cried a little bit while doing it, or participated in research. A lot of hands there, okay. What about if you took advantage of classroom to table? Did any of you enjoy the senior week festivities? And lastly, any parents who are willing to as well, if you have a parent in the crowd who has worn a P24 hat. I see a few of them out there. Many of these experiences that defined our time at Harvard are made possible in part by the Harvard College Fund, or the HCF. As this year's Harvard College Fund Marshals, we've explored creative avenues to raise awareness in our community about the vital support the HCF provides. Thank you to everyone who enjoyed a free cookie at our thank you note events, or spun the trivia wheel at senior brunch, where we got to gather in Annenberg one last time. We competed in a hotly contested Olympics during senior week, shout out Elliott House. And there it is. And captured our memories in the photo booth at night at the museum. Our goal through these Harvard College Fund sponsored experiences was to raise awareness and engage everyone to see firsthand that the HCF impacts our experience as students right now.
The HCF has subtly been a part of your entire undergraduate experience. While the college can only use endowment funds for restricted purposes, the HCF's flexible funds allow college leadership to launch new programs that then go on to become beloved traditions. Maybe you're a recipient of financial aid, or studied at a library that was open 24/7, or enjoyed aspects of house life like FET, Steins, or Mather Lather. All of these are in part thanks to our amazing community of alumni and parent donors who contribute to the Harvard College Fund year after year. The HCF aims to ensure consistent Harvard experiences across generations, which is sustained by the collective generosity of our community. It means Harvard can give out nearly $250 million in financial aid each year. It helps students flourish through vibrant house culture and through support for college essentials like new winter coats or new laptops. It also allows the college to hire new faculty and explore innovating teaching approaches and research.
Our association with the Harvard College Fund goes beyond acknowledging what the HCF does. We want you all to leave here today with a deeper understanding of why supporting the HCF matters. As we transition from student to alumni life and reimagine our connection to Harvard in these next chapters, we can start by recognizing the potential to pay it forward. To each of you who has cherished your Harvard experience, we ask you to consider to become part of the legacy of giving back by making your own gift to the Harvard College Fund, whether that's now or in 5 years, or whether that's small or large. By joining the ranks of over 30,000 alumni and parents who contribute their time, resources, or money to support the Harvard College Fund, you join a community dedicated to making an impact, ensuring that future students can take advantage of the same enriching experiences that have shaped our lives. Your involvement isn't just a gesture. We've seen firsthand that every gift, regardless of amount, truly matters. So as we move forward, let's pay it forward by supporting the Harvard College Fund and enable future students to have transformative experiences like the ones that we've cherished. Thank you so much, and congratulations, class of 2024.
Hello, class of 2024. My name is Shiko Misu Hirabayashi, and I am one of the program marshals for the class of 2024. I am a proud resident of Dunster House, studying neuroscience and physics. Quick shout out to my parents' younger brother who came all the way from Tokyo today. They seem pretty jet lagged. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Ben Elwey, our Harvard orator. Ben, a joint concentrator in linguistics and classics, is deeply fascinated by the connections that languages and cultures share through time, which has inspired their academic path. A committed advocate for disability rights, Ben has worked relentlessly in their extracurricular activities to foster a campus environment that is more inclusive for everyone. Additionally, their thought-provoking opinion columns in the Crimson about disability and mental health were described by one friend as reaching those who feel disconnected from the world. Known among friends for their unfailing humor and ability to make others feel safe, Ben joins us today to share a part of their journey with us. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ben Elwey to present their speech, The Stars Within Tears.
Thank you, Shiko. Well then, my sense of direction is so bad then my father encourages me to take whatever road I think is right, and then go the opposite way. It's not entirely my fault. Because of my impaired eyesight, I can't see far ahead. All the routes I travel look the same. All the street signs blend together, and if there are stairs, well, time to find another way. Or to get lost searching, like that time I got in trouble for, let's see, what did they say? They said prolonged absence and unauthorized travel to Antarctica. I was just trying to get to the quad. Is that really so hard to understand? And so, with my disabilities, I struggle to navigate any path, whether through Cambridge or through my life. I never expected to be able to attend college, and then, living with mental illness here, I lost my way. I found no reason to move on, no point in even trying, and well, everything to regret, because every night I struggle to undo the day's wrong turns, thinking, if I'd just done that differently, if what happened hadn't. And every night I looked up at the sky and I felt all alone. Because every night, whether I smiled, whether I cried, my life didn't change. No sign in the stars told me where to go. And now with commencement, I again have to walk a road I can't see to a destination I don't know. I think even many of us with good eyesight share my disorientation. And for those of us who know their plans now, a day will probably come when you find yourself standing at a loss. But here at Harvard, I found knowledge even more valuable than where I should go. I have learned to see where I am, here among you all, here, which familiarity has made our home. Here, I speak to you today in celebration and in mourning. In celebration, for the assignments and papers submitted alongside Canvas confetti, for the late-night heart-to-hearts shared in JCRs, for, well, so much, but last but not least, the chance encounters that forged lasting friendships. And in mourning, for those same things, between the pandemic and the speed of time, our years at Harvard have passed in a flash. And now that we take our first step into the wider world, our memories of our Cambridge years lie that first step away. Such a loss comes with the closing of any chapter, and it is a loss of more than time. It is a loss of comfort and stability. It is a loss of the very people we used to be. It is a loss of those who are no longer with us. It is a loss of the places we know. Class of 2024, I don't know where I'm going, so I have no advice to give you, but what I do have is a lot of words you're obligated to sit through on this uncomfortably hot day. I see all the fans out there, the fans in hats, and I do have a request as well, that we deny and reject the desire for a never-changing present, that those of us who feel the way I do move on from this place we know. Our education has taught us the importance and our responsibility of seeking the truth in the world and in ourselves. And one truth I hold is this: By stepping outside the door of any home we've made, we will be able to recognize the fleeting beauty of today. And if in doing so, torn by pain, we lose our way at night, through the tears in our eyes, our surroundings will sparkle like the stars. Tears don't last long. They well up, fall, change shape before a new one takes form. They live and die, vanishing as shooting stars. But while they remain, looking through them shows us the ephemeral life we have. When we hurt the most, our tears refract every glow into a million shades of light. These stars within tears remind us that life is never so free and vast with possibility as when it erodes, that the same moment can look different. The power to make that reality belongs to you. The ability to choose your direction is yours. Your future lies in your hands. You control your present. This isn't the first time someone has used those phrases to fish for applause, gasps of horror, and maybe a way to pad their speech. I wouldn't know. But if not already, I want it to be the first time you believe those cliches about choice, the first time you believe yourself. Audience participation time. I hope you did Class Day Assignment 0. I know the assignment said it's not graded, but it's actually worth 40% of your final grade, so too soon. Yeah, I think it's too soon. So moving on, right now, nod your head. That's it. You just turn thought into action. All choice builds from there. And let that acknowledgement of your agency, right here, right now, be your path. It's true. No one can achieve just whatever they'd like. Disability, mental illness, systemic injustice, laws of nature, no one can simply choose to overcome those. But regardless of yesterday, no one knows what you can do today. Listen to your heart when it whispers that you can't stand back. It trusts in your ability to try, to be in pain and to grow, to shape the day, the minute, the hour, even when you can't see the next, to ask for help, even when you hold the weight of the world. So now and always, live life, not a present ground to a halt by fear, not the status quo. And wherever the world we have now denies anyone that basic right to choose their own direction, moment by moment, let us be among those who rip this world apart and rebuild it together as often as it takes. Disobey fate, disobey power, disobey uncertainty. There are so many ways in which we try to forget that every world needs an end. Beginnings cannot otherwise emerge. Then, whenever you find yourself punching a wall, when the pain and desperation feel inescapable, even when your words seem meaningless and your echo fades away, cry them aloud. Let the stars within tears be your proof of the countless paths that stretch before you and your strength to travel them. From art to science, from business to law, from widespread activism to personal healing, life will change. We'll change it. So don't lie to yourself that it's inevitable, that you don't care, that you can't do any part. Rest when you're tired. You're only one person, but don't let the time pass you by. Because every night, class of 2024, know that you can follow the path of yesterday's loss forward to a future sunrise. Remember every night the places far away where you belong, the goodbyes that will yet occur. When those days come, we'll probably be wondering where to go, when we'll know, how to say goodbye and move on from what's no longer meant to be. But we don't need any sign in the stars to tell us those answers. After all, whenever I take a wrong turn, the possibilities I see in the dark, illuminated by the starlight, that starlight will be mine, and it may also be yours, even if we've never met. It may be yours. It may be yours. And that far ahead, down the road, even my eyes can see, clear as day. So, for this moment, how do you choose to live? A Cambridge spring without us has arrived. The journey to find ourselves is here. So just walk on.
Good afternoon. My name is Tarina Ahuja. I'm a social studies concentrator from Adams House.
And my name is Shruti Kumar. I'm a senior in history of science and economics from Mather House. We serve as program marshals for the class of 2024.
You've heard it many times. Our class is one of the most resilient in history. This is a line we hear over and over again, and it rings true in so many ways. But right now, we are here to highlight and recognize a particularly unique type of sheer and raw resilience that speaks to one of the most difficult moments of the past 4 years.
Class Day does not traditionally include a moment like this. But we're also not living in a typical moment.
In the last week, 15 of our peers, intelligent, kind, and giving members of the class of 2024 have been disciplined for exercising their right to freedom of speech and peaceful protest.
The degrees of these 15 seniors are currently withheld and their futures uncertain. These students are students of integrity who unequivocally and bravely stood up for what they believed in, especially in the name of Veritas and with a deep commitment to justice.
These students are our housemates, classmates, friends, and family. They've been there for us. And though we've all have different opinions, as we are entitled to, they are members of our class, like the rest of us. They have contributed to our class. They've pored over piece sets and essays with us. They've shown up for the people around them. They've shared their talents with us and this university, and we want to acknowledge and take time to recognize that they have been unable to celebrate their senior week and commencement and participate in the jubilance of graduation in the same way as the rest of us.
The class of 2024 is incomplete without these 15 seniors. As we stand here today, we want to recognize the pain and anxieties of these students and their families over the past week. For this reason, we want to take a moment to name those that were comfortable being named in an effort to recognize their accomplishments and their contributions to the class of 2024.
We are only going to be naming the first names. Phoebe.
Suhas.
Sarah.
Shraddha.
Raghav.
Henry.
Halia.
Willa.
Usmer.
Britt.
Eric.
Alana.
Sid.
And 2 more seniors who choose to remain anonymous. In thinking about how to address the gravity of this moment and the climate on campus, our committee has ventured to do something new. Typically, we do not have a third student speech on class day. However, as we were reading the many amazing speeches which were submitted, Jeremy's speech was unique and one which so powerfully and beautifully moved us, especially given the current tensions on campus.
I first met Jeremy in the halls of Adams Dining Hall. Go nuts! He came up to me and with so much excitement for the first time we had ever talked, asked me my name, how I was enjoying HUDs that day, and then ventured to inquire about my perception on the meaning of life. Whether it was arranging a spontaneous thesis workshop for the entirety of our class in social studies, or just sitting with new people every single day and asking them how they are, Jeremy leads with a genuine warmth and earnestness that is just so rare in this world.
And I met Jeremy more recently during senior week. His eyes lit up and he was so excited to greet me each and every time he saw me throughout the week. Before I met him, I called up each of his friends as I was preparing my introduction. His friends describe his curiosity for the world as infectious and his concern for individuals generous. They describe him as a distinctive character on campus. Saying hello to each person he walks past, Jeremy is intentional with friendships and passionate about life. He's from Watertown, Massachusetts, and studied social studies. Jeremy works on national climate policy, focusing his efforts on clean energy, government, and politics. He performs in theater and comedy, organizes town halls, and asks questions from the very back of the lecture hall.
From being voted the class of 2024's most whimsical individual to being crowned both senior prom king and winner of the senior talent show, Jeremy, that deserves a moment of applause. Jeremy's mind and talents know no bounds. As we listen to his words, we know you will feel the magic that so many members of this class have been blessed with in our interactions with Jeremy.
Please join us in welcoming Jeremy Orenstein.
Hey, everybody. Let me tell you about a classic Harvard dispute. I'm throwing a disco party in my dorm, and we are dancing, stomping. I don't know if you've ever tried organic chemistry underneath a trampoline, but that's basically what the kids on the first floor were trying to do. They text, they call, they come up and bang on the door. Jeremy, can you please quiet down? I say, okay. And that moment, a door on the other hallway opens and Anthony steps out. He's been practicing cello. They know him. They say, Anthony, play us something. He says, no. We all say, Anthony, play. So he sits up by the stairs, and we all sit on the stairwell, shoulder to shoulder. And he sniffs and plays Bach, G major. Do 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 do. We're dumbfounded. We're silent. We're staring at this cello and the cellist. Disco dancers with glitter makeup sitting next to bleary-eyed pre-med students. And he finishes and we stand up clapping and we walk away. But there is something between us now that is humming that cannot so easily disappear. This happens at Harvard more than you know. A bunch of brilliant, stubborn people, really small space, naturally colliding. And sometimes in our furiousness or frustration, there is a musicality. Out of the rhythm of disagreement, there is the rumbling of truth. Yeah, and this is not a new idea. Reverend Martin Luther King said many times, creative tension is the way to help a society grow. And Harvard leaders have said the same thing. In 1903, Professor William James called on us to be undisciplinables. He meant follow your ambitions and your ideals, even if you leave the group, even if you break some rules. 2024, I am proud of us undisciplinables, including the people who speak out against the killing of innocents, even when it is unpopular. Even when it is punished, no matter who or when or where. Yes, I would also like to praise what I call the unlikely inseparables. These are the people who stick together even when they disagree. They're the people you see in the dining hall and you think, how could those two people be friends? Because they're so opposed or so different. And maybe they're not friends. Maybe they don't hug or high five, but there's respect. And I think about that pal who detests my politics, but counts on me to attend every Shabbat dinner. She is at times cantankerous and unbending, but she is more afraid of us being alone on Friday night than she is of us being impolite. So we bless the wine and bread, we argue, we even offend, we apologize, we argue, we say the blessings again. Yeah. I praise the unlikely inseparables who go from one camp to the other just to be seen and to see, who never back down from their beliefs, but never pass up a chance to persuade, which often looks like a chance to listen. So, Harvard University, I invite you to embrace public conversations on the thorny subjects. Where are we spending our money? Who are we hiring? And don't do it on side chat. Do it in town halls, face to face, because we can take it, because we are capable of that. We are ready for ferocious, respectful disagreement. We have to decide, are we capable of it? We gotta decide, we really do. Yeah, I believe in us. I'll tell you one more thing, what I'm afraid to lose. I don't love Harvard because of its big name or its big buildings. I love Harvard because of its tiny campus. The yard is less than 1/10 of a square mile, if you can believe it. So you're always running into someone you know, whether it's your best friend, hey, or your ex. It's good. The point is that we are sitting shoulder to shoulder in a stairwell, listening and playing the most beautiful music. And in a few days, we will lose the luxury of forced contact. We will be scattered across the world. The solution, of course, is LinkedIn. No, that's a joke. No, imagine this. Imagine a thread running from you to the people around you. Your friends, but also the stranger with the familiar face and the kid who gets on your nerves. Imagine that no matter how far apart you go, your fates are bound up together. No matter how far apart you go, your fates are bound up together. It may be gold or crimson, but no matter how you bend and pull and yank, that thread will keep. May your threads run to unexpected people. May your threads remain unexpectedly strong. Class of 2024, you undisciplinables, you unlikely inseparables, you're beautiful and congratulations. Carry on. Thank you.
This is ours.
Thank you, Jeremy. My name is Corbin Lubianski, and it is my pleasure to serve as the class treasurer for the class of 2024.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Zhang, and I'm honored to serve as a program marshal for the class of 2024.
Today, it is our distinct honor to introduce the recipients of the Richard Glover and Henry Russell Ames Memorial Award. The class of 2024 is composed of countless individuals who have dedicated their college careers to serving others within the Harvard community and beyond. While their impact goes far, they often go unacknowledged by our broader community. As such, the purpose and spirit of the Ames Awards is to finally shine a light on two unsung heroes of the class of 2024.
On June 19, 1935, Richard Glover Ames and Henry Russell Ames, brothers and Harvard students, gave their lives to save their father, who was washed overboard during a storm off the coast of Newfoundland. Every year since, the Ames Award has been given in their memory to recognize two members of our class who have shown commitment to helping others and who exhibit the same heroic character and leadership as the Ames brothers. This year, the selection committee was deeply moved by the overwhelming number of nominations submitted by faculty, faculty deans, tutors, coaches, and peers, each reflecting the profound spirit of service and leadership within our class.
I have the honor of introducing the first of our two Ames Awards recipients. This awardee is a tireless leader known for their unreal work ethic and ability to connect deeply with those that they interact with. Their journey with our class began as a quiet force, helping fellow students transition to their new lives. His dedication to inclusion was not just about shared backgrounds, it was about building a family away from home. As the president of the Harvard University Veterans Organization, their leadership brought forth initiatives that resonated across campus. The Veteran Entrepreneurship Seminar stands as a beacon of their commitment, a project born from their vision to empower and uplift. Their hands-on approach and passion for service extended beyond the veterans community, touching lives through mentorship and tutoring, always with a personal touch. Their influence, however, transcends former roles. Their kindness, often expressed in simple, everyday gestures, has left a lasting impression on many. Their ability to offer academic guidance, emotional support, or a moment of camaraderie has made our campus a richer, more compassionate place. The recipient's service to others is reminiscent of their time in the silent service, the serene force known for its stealth and resilience. Their approach to life at Harvard mirrors this ethos, impactful yet humble, powerful yet unassuming. They have been a guardian of our community's well-being, often working behind the scenes to make a difference. For those reasons, and many more, please join me in welcoming our first Ames Award winner to the stage, Ben Allen.
It is my privilege to introduce the second of our two distinguished honorees. I'm especially excited to be making this announcement because this honoree happens to also be one of my blockmates, a friendship formed in the digital threads of a Zoom meeting just under 4 years ago. Since then, I have been fortunate enough to witness not just the growth of a friend, but the rise of a truly inspiring individual whose every step and action have sown seeds of kindness throughout our community. I'm sure that many of us sitting here in the audience today have felt her impact through the various hats she wears on campus. Perhaps we attended an event she hosted as Dunster Hoko Chair, or perhaps we have marveled from afar as she zips down the river as a coxswain on the men's rowing team. However, what many of us do not know is that she has actually spent the last 3 years continuously working at the Red Sox Foundation in Boston, commuting to and from Fenway Park before class and during the summers. Beginning from her sophomore year, she founded and spearheaded the Fenway Learning Lab, a 10-year charitable initiative of the Red Sox aimed at providing all 6th graders in the Boston public school system with fully funded field trips to Fenway Park. She has built this program from the ground up, coordinating outreach to schools, procuring logistics like catered lunches and bus services, and personally designing the educational curriculum. In the program, students learn financial literacy by planning a family's budget for a full ballpark menu at a concession stand, and they learn Pythagorean theorem by measuring distances between plates on the field. Through her work at the Fenway Learning Lab, she has given hundreds of children around Boston belonging and community. A loving daughter, an inspiring friend, and a transformative community leader, please join me in welcoming our second Ames Award winner to the stage, Haley Kwon.
Hello, friends and family. My name is Madison Pankey, and I am a program marshal for the class of 2024. Next up, Matthew Cole will deliver the Ivy oration, a silly and comedic approach to our last 4 or 5 years together. Matthew is not new to the stage by any means. I have had the pleasure of witnessing Matthew perform in 3 Hasty Pudding theatrical shows. Yeah. One of which he actually helped co-write. He is a member of the improv troupe On Thin Ice and HC Sucks, the stand-up comic society. His sophomore year, he even received a fellowship from the OFA to perform stand-up in New York City for a summer. I think Matthew is hilarious, and apparently, so do the rest of you. This past fall, Matthew won the senior superlative class clown. Yeah. Matthew is a writer, an actor, a comedian, and a friend. Matthew, like me, is a resident of Dunster House, and yes. And to any talent agents out there, Matthew, like me, is seeking representation. As we both continue to search for employment, it's only fitting that Matthew's speech is entitled, "Anyone Hiring Comedians?" It is my pleasure to introduce my very good friend and our Ivy orator, Matthew Cole. Did you get the picture?
Did you get the photo? Mom, did you get the photo? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, peers, parents, professors, presidents, and interim presidents. Thank you, Madison, for that very kind introduction, but there are a few other things about me I think everyone should know. My suit is J. Crew, my shoes are from Marshall's, and my underwear is on loan from the Coop at only $80 for the whole semester. What a steal, is what I said when I walked out of the Coop without paying for them. I think that covers it. Okay, we have all been through so much to get to this moment. Our time on this campus has seen real highs and lows, $53.2 billion, $50.7 billion. But we've also experienced real hardship. I'm talking, of course, about pre-2023 HUD's meals. Let's all take a much-needed moment to unstick the beef fajita fettuccine from our intestinal tracts. Are we good? Okay. We witnessed a lot of presidential power transfer. Trump to Biden, back out to Gay, to Garber, to Fez Zuffer, I'm assuming. Our class catalyzed the change from the UC to the HUA, which to me are just letters, but I'm told stand for words. Many of us took gap years and came back with an accent and a, how you say, Zoloft prescription. Those of us who weren't cowards and attended the school during the Zoom era were spread across the whole campus and forbidden from gathering. We couldn't have classes or meals or group sex together. It was a very isolating experience. To my suite mates at the time, Ali and Kevin, I'm sorry we never spoke again after that first day we moved in. And I'm also sorry for the loud crying you heard through the walls. That was before my CAMS therapist taught me to repress those feelings. But against all odds, we bridged this physical and social distance to find communities and friends and people to have group sex with. And here we all are now today, and I am so excited to be up here with all of you. Now, on a day like today, you can really feel this transition that we made from isolation to connection, and this was definitely the greatest accomplishment of our class. And today we are an unmasked mob, crowded tighter than bisexuals at an advocate party. I can say it, I have a gay friend. Okay, fine. Crowded tighter than perverts watching Primal Scream. That one's for my pervert friend. So let's all take now a much-needed moment to unstick our thighs from the person next to us. Okay, great. On class day, we are united simply on the basis of being from the same class, which is the same principle that has guided Final Club punches for centuries. But this unity is so exciting because most of our time at Harvard took us in all different directions. Some of us devoted our days to the arts, studying TDM and AFES. Others of us received an education. Some of us are on the class committee, working tirelessly to make our senior year as fun as possible. And others of us muted that GroupMe and deleted your emails. So, thank you. If you had friends, you spent your nights partying. If you studied applied math, you, I don't know, slept. And if you, like me, are a true American hero, you spent your nights gracing every door with an unsolicited copy of the Harvard Salient. You're welcome. One side hustle I personally engaged with here was giving tours of Harvard's campus through Harvard Student Agencies, which is the world's largest student-run pyramid scheme. And because of my tour guide background, I thought I could give you guys all a little bit of history about the buildings we see around us. One second. I won't be walking backwards, but I will be addressing my SAT scores. Okay, over to your right is Seaver Hall, not to be confused with Seizure Hall, which refers to the hallway in New Quincy with the electrical issue. Seaver was built in 2015, and it houses our famed Taylor Swift Studies Department, as well as 5,000 doves that I trained to fly across the yard right now. Whoops, I was supposed to feed them. Moving on, behind you is Widener Library, where, fun fact, the stacks actually tunnel under the ground below where you guys are sitting, meaning you parents could actually be sitting right above where your child studied German literature, or maybe where they had sex. No, your child didn't have any of that here, Mom. And over to your left is Ellen DeGeneres Hall, recently renamed. And that concludes our tour. Tips can go in here or through the QR guide under your seats. I'm kidding, but there's a truth at the center of that joke, which is I want money. I'm graduating with an English degree. My only prospects are slam poetry or being president of Harvard University. No one else seems to want to do it. Now, before I wrap up in 30 to 40 minutes, I wanted to share with you all my hope for our future. And then I promise I'll hand over the stage to our incredible Class Day speaker, TBD. Oh, sorry. When I wrote this speech, they hadn't been announced yet. Sorry. Writing this speech this morning in Lamont Basement, I realized something. Wow, Adderall does not pair well with Hefes. I'm kidding. Hefes, of course, pairs well with everything. Shout out to the boss. But then I realized something else. That if we were able to overcome the intense separation that characterized the start of our time here to become as close as we are today, we have the power to maintain this closeness even after we go off on our separate directions, whether that takes you to McKinsey or Bain. Over the last 4 years, I have formed such valuable relationships, not romantic ones, but hey, that doesn't even bother me a lot all the time. And after college, I hope to find opportunities to continue to connect with you all. Yes, on LinkedIn, but also on Tinder. Or Raya, if this speech goes viral. The Harvard network is not one to take for granted, and the remarkable people here are truly one of a kind. So make an active effort to stay in touch over the phone, over coffee, over Middle America in a private plane. We can leave behind the frustrating, difficult parts of college while taking with us the people that made it wonderful. And with that, I will surrender the microphone, but if all the camera people could stay trained on me, I promise I'll give you some fabulous reaction shots like this. That would have been you guys if the doves had worked. Now, if you liked my speech, my name is Matthew Cole, and if you didn't, that's fine. It was written by ChatGPT. Our robot overlord, oh, nope, sorry. Congratulations, everyone. Let's all take a much-needed moment to unstick our hearts from these hallowed halls. Thank you, class of 2024. It's been an honor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chelsea Baker, and I am one of the program marshals for the class of 2024. Today, we are joined by a stalwart for equitable admissions who has dedicated over 50 years of his career to building a better Harvard. The first of this year's featured speakers, Bill Fitzsimmons, graduated from Harvard College in 1967 and later received master's and doctoral degrees from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Starting in 1972, he worked in the Harvard Admissions Office and the Harvard Fund in various capacities before assuming the role of Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid in 1986. In his 38 years serving as dean, he has welcomed tens of thousands of students to Harvard College. Dean Fitzsimmons plays an integral role in establishing the makeup of each incoming class of Harvard students, determining who Harvard is and who it will be. His passion for this work is clear to all who know him. Each graduating senior here has Dean Fitzsimmons to thank for this life-changing opportunity. My life surely would not be the same without it. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome the esteemed Dean Fitzsimmons.
I'm sure her life would have been just fine, but here we are. Thank you very, very much for such kind words. And you might wonder, what am I doing here? You know, I was on the road last week in New York trying to raise money for financial aid. On Sunday night, I get a call from Jack Reardon. Would you be Class Day speaker? And I said, gee, I've been following the drama in the Crimson. There are lots of names, lots of high-profile names. And I don't even have an album or anything, or a tour to announce, right? So I do know some people who have actually been to Beyonce and our friend Taylor Swift's live concert. How many of you, by the way, out of curiosity, have seen either one of them live? Anyone? There you are. See, I knew there were a lot of rich people here. So the only thing I can say, I'm not Matt Damon, nor am I Ben Affleck. And so Bill and I, you'll hear from Bill later. So they went local and they went with accents. So here we are. I think, there have been lots of thanks today so far to the parents. And, and it is so richly deserved. I mean, this, I think, the class of 2024 is truly one of the greatest classes in Harvard history, and I'll prove it to you shortly. But it's not all their doing. And what's interesting is that many of them actually wrote essays about their parents or their aunts and uncles or their grandparents or other significant people, but usually it came back to family and how family shaped them, so much. I won't ask you, it's too hot, to have everybody get, let's give you another round of applause, however, for all you have done. And so one of the things that, though, we just have to, is amazing as the class of 2024 is, we have to remember that Michael Sandel and my mother were right. My mother always told us we were born on third base, given what a great family we had. And Michael Sandel always reminds us to be humble, which is great advice, so that Harvard doesn't become, Harvard and hubris don't become synonyms in the American lexicon. So I think we have to understand exactly what our achievements are and what they aren't. And I think it's also good for us to be reminded that there's an enormous amount of talent outside of 02138. Our family ran a gas station and a convenience store 20 miles from here, and we were open from 8 in the morning to 11 at night. And all I can tell you is growing up in that business was an education what one could argue was at least as good as having a Harvard education. It was amazing. We had people from every kind of background you can imagine, a lot of shipyard workers, a lot of construction workers, a lot of think about being a long-distance trucker, for example, and driving a gas truck, given the crazy Massachusetts drivers. So many different, people in different ways, including a lot of people we have called during the COVID time essential workers, which would also include my niece, who is an oncology nurse at Mass General Brigham, but was dealing with COVID patients right over here at Mount Auburn during the worst of the pandemic. And I think whatever, the people I grew up with, the people I'm proud of, they were imbued with a sense of excellence and in a sense of doing, as the great Rakesh Khurana would say, being the best citizens and citizen leaders they could possibly be. They were all, as we would say in the Boston area, wicked smart. And they also were smart in all the ways that the great Howard Gardner talks about multiple intelligence, verbal and math, interpersonal, intrapersonal, artistic, musical, spatial, kinesthetic, naturalistic, existential, all the kinds of talents that really go into making up human beings. If I ever write a book, and you'll see in a second why I choose this title, it would be Excellence from Everywhere. And the concept of excellence was reinforced at my high school, which is right nearby. It's a Catholic high school, Archbishop Williams in Braintree. And you'll see in a second, it was way, way ahead of Harvard in that time in so many different ways. I mean, for one thing, we had a history teacher who was as good or better than any teachers I ever had at Harvard. But the core of the school was taught by nuns, and they were nuns from an order from Nazareth, Kentucky. And they also, think about it, these amazing bunch of very, very strong educators had missions in the Boston area, in Belize, and in India. And, you know, the high school, you know, virtually all the teachers were nuns at that point. And, you know, for that matter, it's about 65% of my classmates were women. So I looked around at college, and I had never seen this place. And I came over for the first time my senior year, about probably October or November. And I was interested. And so I went back and said, okay, I'm going to apply to Harvard. So the first two teachers I asked to write recommendations for Harvard wouldn't do it. They said, no, you're heading off to a Catholic college. They said, yeah. I said, why? He said, well, that Harvard is a bunch of communists and a bunch of atheists, a bunch of snobs, that it's anti-Catholic, and that you would flunk out and you would lose your soul. And, you know, that sounded really interesting, right? You know, you were in the 60s. And one of the nuns said, lose your soul, Bill, if any. Think about that for a second. So anyway, of course, it was the 60s, and I went to Harvard. And it was an incredible, amazing, life-changing ride, 61 years. You know, pretty amazing. Lots of, you know, as Rakesh would say, transformative in so many different ways. It's hard to imagine. But we also had our share of fun in the best house, which of course is Kirkland House. We had an expression that I think was whimsical, but we'll give it to you anyway. You can't always be young, but you can always be immature. So, you know, think about that. That's the only wisdom I have to offer, you know, for the class. But when I got to Harvard, it was shocking, quite frankly, to see who was missing in the 1960s. For example, it was 4-to-1 male to female, a little different from my class in high school. No women were allowed in Lamont Library, which was the major undergraduate library. No women were allowed through the front door of the Harvard Club of New York until 1973. There was no Title IX until 1973. There were almost no students of color. There were almost no international students. I, as a first-generation student, did not have a lot of company. And in fact, financial aid, and it was, people did the best they could do, but only about a quarter of the students were on financial aid compared to about 55% today. So we, coming out of when a lot of us started in the early 1970s in admission, we really had a lot to do. And we, you know, we had heard Martin Luther King talk about having a dream. And we also, I must say, I was really taken by a quote I saw in the Crimson yesterday about the first-gen affinity group. A woman by the name of Rosa Martinez said to the group, "You are not only your ancestors' wildest dreams, but the aspiration of future generations to come." So our mission was very clear. We had all kinds of great admissions people. Some of their relatives may be in the audience today. Marianne Schwalbe might have children and grandchildren in the audience. Alberta Arthurs might, who is still writing and going strong. Fred Glimp, who was the dean who admitted me. Buster Glimp, his wife, still lives right nearby. Fred Jewett has passed away, my predecessor, but Jack Reardon, who probably is not here at this point today because I think he's off with the overseers right now. But anyway, they had laid the groundwork, and a lot of hard work followed on the part of presidents, deans, faculty, alumni, students, and staff, including my good friend Cal Mosley, who started about the same time I did, who is recovering for very serious illness. The key to our success over time has been financial aid. And, you know, I'm glad to hear the messages. We already had 2 messages about financial aid, 3 counting the fact that I was down there in New York last week. We're spending now $260 million a year on undergraduate financial aid, and only 60% of that is covered by the endowment. And that is a lot of money uncovered. We made great gains under Larry Summers for the first part of the Harvard Financial Aid Initiative, but in 2008, and this generation, if you follow Gen X and Gen Y and Gen Z, this generation doesn't really remember 9/11, but they do remember subliminally, perhaps even directly, the 2008 economic downturn. And that was a point where the world almost ended financially for Harvard. That was a much worse crisis than was ever let out into the press. But yet, to me, it turned out to be one of the proudest and happiest moments I've ever seen at Harvard. And that is because Drew Faust and Mike Smith, who was the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at that point, said, okay, we're going to have to cut back a lot of things, but the one thing that we will not cut back on, because it's foundational, it's who we are, it will be financial aid. So it was pretty, I would say, an affirmation, and it was also realistic in terms of you're going to get excellence from everywhere, from every corner of the United States and every part of the world, then you need to have great financial aid in order to do it. Let me just give you a couple of things, because you guys are good sports, and I know it's hot, so I'm cutting this down a bit here. But the class we just admitted, and I'll come back right in a minute to 2024, 2008. It was the 4th year in a row that we had 50,000 plus applicants. We had all 50 states. We had 94 countries. It was the most international class in the history of Harvard. It wasn't 20% women, as it was in my class. It's 53 and change. We also, one of the great things that we've already seen, one manifestation of it, there were very few, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, there were very few veterans, and there were very few ROTC students at Harvard. And this class just coming in, 22 veterans and 42 ROTC students, which I think makes a huge difference. And here, for my intrepid Crimson reporters, Matan and Elise, always looking out for you, always trying to give you news, or not, as the case may be. But, you know, what we did this year, when all was said and done, despite all of the challenges that Harvard and many other institutions faced, the yield on admitted students this year was higher than it was last year, which is amazing. You know, it was a little over 84%. And that is, again, one of the highest yields really since the 70s. You know, we've been in that neighborhood in the past few years, but it's an incredible achievement. And I think it speaks to the fundamental strength of the institution. The great class of 2024 set standards of excellence, I believe, that may never be matched. And you know, it'll inspire certainly the class of 2028 and all future generations. So of the 32 American Rhodes this year, 9 of them, Rhodes Scholars, came from Harvard. It's a good year when you have 3 or 4 or 5, but it was 9. It's unbelievable, quite honestly, in our world. One of the houses, if it had been a college by itself, would have been the 2nd leading institution in the United States. I mean, that's pretty amazing. There were 6 Marshall scholarships. There were 12 Schwarzman scholarships. It was arguably, as a number of people have said, one of the best athletic years in the history of Harvard. Howard Gardner, his theory of multiple intelligences and talents, would be very proud. Look at the theater, look at the dance, look at the music, the art. Excellences everywhere in this class. And you've already talked about it, but you did it under the most difficult circumstances and with an unfailing moral compass and great grace under pressure. Those are terms that I would use to describe Larry Bacow and Claudine Gay, who did an amazing job day in and day out when we were going through, we were reinventing Harvard about every day or two, during these times. When we were finishing selecting the class of 2024, we were, the full committee, roughly 50 people, were over there for a while in March, but then people started, because of COVID, started to go home and be part of the meetings virtually. So I was one of 4 or 5 people left. Felt a little like the Titanic going down. And the very last meeting, I think, was March 18th. And we finished off admitting the class of 2024. And we weren't back in that office for over 2 years. So we were doing admissions. I was sitting there looking at the bird feeder and the washer and dryer off to the right as we did everything virtually. And when I can think about what Larry Bacow and Claudine did day in and day out in a heroic fashion, it was amazing. And I know, we said you guys had no Visitas, you had no high school graduation, you had no Annenberg. There were, just to remind you, there were 1,148 of your class in residence in different buildings. There were 265 students learning remotely. 110 of them were international students who were kept out of the country by federal law. And, it was rough. There's no getting around it, and it's one of the reasons why it's truly astonishing that that class achieved so much as it did. But Gen Z is tough. And, the latest economists, they were using words to describe Gen Z, the words flexibility, endurance, creativity, resilience, grit, as Angela Duckworth would say. And in lots of ways, the whole class itself, I've got a chance to get to know Fez Zafar a bit over the past few days. And, here's this great leader who had done things that were important nationally and internationally during high school, could have gone anywhere. He was called a force for good about 5 times in his application. And thank God he came here. And I know all of you had stories like that where you could have done all kinds of things. So we are thrilled that the class chose to come here. So let me just back up as we finish off here. In 12 years, we're going to celebrate Harvard's 400th year. And we have limitless possibilities sitting in front of us. Even in January, as Harvard came back, we were seen by a survey through Princeton Review as the so-called #1 dream school. And even this morning, if you read, as you're a junkie like I am, and you read Inside Higher Ed every morning, there was certainly a story about the fact that higher ed is coming back, after the pandemic. There's so much, there's so much when you think about what we have done here and what we can do. Monday night, I went down to the Paulson Center to hear from David Parks, who runs, the Seas. And, it was inspiring, frankly, to listen to him and his colleagues talk about their plans for the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. So many issues they're working on earnestly to do with quantum computing, data science, the environment, AI for the public good. And it was inspiring, frankly, to meet with him and his colleagues and to see old friends, Harry Lewis and Marlon McGrath, down there, who have given so much to Harvard, so much of their lives over the year. It was also, frankly, inspiring to me, because I am also a Harvard junkie. And after the meeting was over, it was twilight, and I had to park a fairly long way away. So I was walking through what amounts to the new Harvard that is rising over in Alston. And I think we all know, there are enterprise research, so much more going on. The train station with BU, the Mass Pike will be pushed over, but more to the point, our partnerships with MIT, with Mass General Brigham, other hospitals and universities and research centers, the kind of synergy that will take place over there. The American Repertory Theater, one of the crown jewels of Harvard, will have its new home over there shortly. The One Harvard we talk about, I took courses at the School of Public Health, and the Ed School totally changed my life when I was an undergraduate. Now routinely, students take courses we call the One Harvard, all over Harvard, all the research centers, all the great things that are possible. And you know, one of the things I would just say is that whenever we're looking at a problem, let's say a problem such as the environment, the fact that we have so many different parts of Harvard and so many different scholars to think about these issues and look at them from so many different perspectives, that makes a huge difference. I was talking with one of our great professors in the environment. One of his specialties, he said, if you go on the internet and look at a particular thing he's interested in, that 46 of the top 50 scholars in the world are at Harvard. So, you know, the only thing I can say is that right now in the Boston area, I'm sure you all know this, that this is the best place in the world if you're interested in the life sciences. And I would just say how lucky we are to have a remarkable new dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, a remarkable new leader, Hopi Hoekstra, who is herself in the life sciences. And she will make decisions that will not simply affect Harvard, but they will change the world. And I would say also, one of my first admits when I was covering Illinois, all the way back then in 1972, was none other than Alan Garber, and how lucky over time he is a guy who has always taken on the toughest tasks. He's an expert in medicine and in economics. And what a great resource during the pandemic. What a great resource during his time as provost, whenever there was a tough situation, to give it to him. And he is a person, you know, he of course, you know, when we were looking at his application, he was wicked smart, and he did all kinds of things in addition. From Rock Island, Illinois. We had another person very much like him, also very, very smart, who also graduated in 3 years. And as it turns out, that was Justice John Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court. So we can do diversity in lots of different ways, and we were even doing it then. The late dean of the faculty, Henry Rosofsky, one of my great heroes, said there are only two things that you need to have a great university. One is the best students, and the other is the best faculty. And it's a little like the Field of Dreams. Once if you build it, then they will come. And you know what then happens is you create new knowledge, and you create great leaders and all kinds that go everywhere. And early in his career, he said when he came here that maybe, you know, the very handful of great universities, maybe 10, 15, 20. Toward the end, he was saying that perhaps there were 40 or 45, or maybe more. We could, you know, get a debatable number of great universities in the world. These universities are precious. And as a number of people said, they are under attack. And if you want new knowledge, if you want great leaders, I can think of nothing better than to send them to your sons and daughters to one of these great universities. We need them. We need these universities. We need Harvard to do exactly what Henry advocated, simply to make the world a better place and even to save the world from the forces of darkness. So congratulations again to the class of 2024. It's going to be a very, very exciting 12 years. Only 12 years to 2036 and we celebrate the 400th. And I look for great things from the class of 2024. So you guys, I'll see you there. Thanks.
All right, all right. Thank you. All right, thank you so, oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Mr. Fitzsimmons, for your remarks. It was an honor to hear and learn from someone who has such a strong history and selfless desire to improve the well-being of our students. One more round of applause for Mr. Fitzsimmons. All right, let's get the show started. Where to begin? A proud Securitas guard, a Marine veteran, a proud girl dad, the #1 Harvard women's softball fan, the #1 men's football fan, and a little fact unbeknownst to most, he is the #1 softball fan for his granddaughter. He has never missed one of her games. Big time, big time, big time, big time. A friend, a companion, and a mentor to all. I can go on and on about the many hats that Bill wears, but I'm going to focus on the trait that makes Bill so loved and unique, his boundless love, compassion, and unwavering dedication to improving the lives of everyone he meets. When I first got to Courier, fresh off completing my first year of Zoom University, it felt like a whirlwind. You know, adjusting from Dallas to Boston, it was weird being in a city where our sports teams actually won. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys, it's our year next year. All right. But there was one person who made my transition seamless, and it was Bill. Bill is one of the kindest and most compassionate people you may ever meet. He calls all his students his kids, and he treats them with love and support as if they were his own. Whether it's playing football and watching Bill Gronk spike the ball into a ceiling, probably wasn't supposed to say that, the fist bumps, the D-Hall conversations, the late-night stories at the front desk of Courier, or just being there whenever you need him, Bill is always putting the well-being and happiness of others over his own. So, today, it's time we return the favor. Bill, I'm so grateful to have met you and gotten the opportunity to learn from you, but more importantly, I'm so grateful that you have the opportunity to show the world who you are and share your inspiring story. Bill, you are the mayor of Courier, and I love you. We all love you. So please join me in welcoming Bill Oliverio, your Class A speaker of the class of 2024. Yes, sir. Bill, 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 Bill.
Well, let's just see if I deserve all that. When I woke up this morning, I read this one last time, and I realized I made a great mistake. I worked on this thing for 3 days with minimal sleep, and I'm not a Harvard kid. That's not my forte, and I didn't do good at it. So if you saw me yawning back there a few times, it was no disrespect to the speakers. I know better than that. Another thing is, this is my first time on this side of the podium. I know what it's like to be back there sweating and bored, and I'm not going to do that to you. But there's a couple of things that I have to do that have already been done. I'm going to do them as fast as I can before I get to this. I want to recognize all my fellow guards. You see all these white shirts around here? These guys are all sweating their behinds off. Up the officers. FMO, audiovisual, everybody that had something to do with setting this up. Good for you. Good on you. All those up at the top of the chain of command, I'm going to hold off on that. That's somebody else's job. That's not me. I'm here for you guys. You ask for me, you're going to get me. And you guys sure do have a lot of faith in me. That means a lot to me. But I'll be honest with you, public speaking is not my thing. So please forgive me if I need to read from this paper, at least until my heart starts bumping like the 10-man suite on Friday night. Water, vodka. And before any overzealous EMTs charge the stage and light me up with an AED, I'm joking. My max heart rate is only 89%. I still got a little bit to go. I'm sweating like a big dog, nervous as can be, but I have my kids on my side, so I'm going to do okay. Thank you again, guys. Which reminds me, I have to thank my late night crew, Kira, Shuby, and Fez. Who stayed up with me 2 consecutive nights until 4 in the morning, providing me with advice and encouragement. Chuby's dedication to this class and his hard work to make senior week and commencement great is in fact so extreme that at 5:30 yesterday morning, I had to call in an emergency situation and have an ambulance transport him to Mount Auburn Hospital to be treated for exhaustion. My man, you're a boss. Thank you to my chain of command at Securitas for giving me the blessing on this. Rob, Chris, Keith, Tom, and everyone else, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all my fellow guards for tolerating me, and especially for all the harassment I'm going to get when I step off the stage. Thank you to the Curry House faculty deans, Sylvia Barrett and Latanya Sweeney, 2 of the greatest ladies I've ever known. And thank you to their families as well. Thank you to faculty, staff, and especially the students of Currier House. Oops, I almost forgot. Chuby, can you please hand me my academic regalia? And let's get this party started. First, I have some bad news for you, and some good news. Bad news is my speech is 18 pages long. And the good news is I put it in a font that accommodates my age. Notable candidates for speaker at the 2024 Harvard Class Day ceremony. Matt Damon. Who is this? Drake. Who's Drake, anyway? Me personally, I'm more of a Team Kendrick kind of guy. Shaquille O'Neal. I wasn't watching. Did that go in? Arnold Schwarzenegger. And who do they think they are passing up on this opportunity? Then Bill Oliverio, the security guy from Currier House. Of course, I couldn't pass up on this. I just couldn't say no. Not to that guy, and not the class of 2024. So here's me, a security guard standing up here about to attempt to speak intelligently and impart some words of wisdom to the freshest batch of the smartest kids in the world. And yes, there is a little bit of sarcasm in that. But those in Currier House know how I really feel about all of you guys. And if my teasing goes a little bit too far, I'm put in my place often enough. For example, once I was being a wise guy and teasing some of the smart kids in Currier House Dining Hall, and one of my favorite students, Kara Fiber, said to me, "Why don't you go back up to your little desk?" Everybody in the dining hall was cracking up. But what did I do? Went back up to my little desk. Kira's never wanted to pass up the opportunity to give me a dose of my own medicine. And I appreciate that, and I love you, kid. That's one of many funny memories that will stay with me forever. But the #1 reason why I can talk crap to the smartest kids in the world? Allow me, if you will, to boast my CV. 24 credit hours with marginal at best GPA spaced across 40 years, 5 different community colleges in 3 different states on 2 coasts. Not 1, but 2 failed attempts at XPOS 25 at the Harvard Extension School. But wait, that's not all. If you go to the Somerville Public Library right next door here and pull up the Somerville High School 1983 yearbook, you'll see my picture. And then, if you pull up the 1984 yearbook, you'll see my picture. 1985 too. Yep, it took me 5 years to graduate high school. And my kids always remind me of that whenever I try to be a dad. Love you guys. So when you hear me making comments about how the smartest kids in the world occasionally lock their keys out of their dorm room, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. Unless, of course, you spent 5 years in high school. When I was first transferred to Harvard from my last assignment, I thought to myself, great, I'm going to be watching the spoiled rich kids. And that's the mentality I came here with. But it didn't last long. I had the good fortune of meeting a few good people that changed that way of thinking for me quickly. The first house I was assigned to when I got here was Adam's house. Adam's house. Those little acorns will always have a special place in my heart. At that time, the faculty deans were a young couple named Sean and Judy Pelfrey. Awesome, awesome people. Well, when a new security guard gets assigned to one of the upper-class dormitories, the faculty deans will eventually make their way around to introduce themselves and set the record straight as to what is expected of them. I remember the talk I had with the Pelfreys because it was very brief. They said, if you can't come to think of these kids as your own, you're in the wrong job. And that was it. At that same time, I met a man named John Doc Pomeroy. He was the guard who showed me the ropes at Adam's house. We hit it off from the very beginning, because as soon as I found out that he was an old salty Navy man, and he found out I was a young Marine veteran, it was on like Donkey Kong. The Navy and Marines are like Harvard and Yale, the Red Sox and the Yankees. A fierce rivalry, but they're for each other immediately if necessary. As John taught me the job, I noticed something about the relationship that he had with the students. His kids, he called you guys. And he had this unusual but very special rapport with the kids. They treated him like gold. That's when my mentality started to change. I myself wanted that rapport. When Shuby first mentioned the idea of me getting up here, and let me clear the air on something, I had the choice to back out of this. I'm not here by force. Nobody pressured me to be up here. I was presented with the idea, and they gave me plenty of opportunity to back out. And I thought about it, because speaking's not my thing. But then after a while, I realized it wasn't an opportunity, it was an obligation. Because shame on me if I pass up on the opportunity to tell all these parents the same thing I've been telling you guys for the last 14 years. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, and it's probably going to be only this year. And ironically, it's this class. Now, it wouldn't be fair to me to single out one class as the best. So let me see if I can put this tactfully. I don't want to hurt the feelings of any other classes, but this class doesn't have to worry about that. I told Shuby, what am I going to talk about? I don't know anything about anything. But then I realized I do know something. And I know it better than anybody on this campus. And I know it better. No, I'm not talking about how to open a mailbox at Curry House lobby. Well, the answer was staring me right in the face, literally. I know you guys, the students, my kids. That's all we as guards do in the houses, is watch you guys. Morning, afternoon, and night, we're here, watching students. I tell the parents, we see you guys when no one's watching. And what I mean by that is at some point down the line, we become like part of the furniture in the building. We're just there. You guys are good with us, so you let your hair down and you just be yourselves. And that's far from spoiled rich kids. Now, one memory for me that changed my opinion of the smartest kids in the world is my very first day on the job at Claverley Hall. Shortly after I settled into the lobby desk, 3 students approached me. They were very big guys, obviously football players, probably over 1,000 pounds of human being coming right at me. My first thought was, Here we go. Here's the talk when they tell me what's up and who runs the show around here. But when they got to my desk, there was one guy that reached out his hand, shook my hand, and he said, "My name's DJ Monroe. This guy here is Nnamdi Obekwelu, and this guy here is Josh Boyd. Anybody gives you any trouble here, come get us." I was blown away by this. I had nothing to say. I couldn't say anything. At that point, two things happened. The stigma you guys are all cursed with as spoiled rich kids disappeared completely from my mind. And two, right then and there became a lifetime admiration, respect, and reverence I have for all you guys. Not only was this my first up-close and personal interaction with student athletes, but all of the students, all of the Harvard community, and I'm happy, and I'm lucky, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Now, not all of my times here have been good stuff. Not for you, and as a result, not for me. I've seen more than my fair share of adversity all of you guys have faced here, and that's in addition to the intense academic workload you've already burdened with. I remember about 12, 15 years ago when Occupy movement commandeered the yard and pitched their tents and took a stand for what they believed in. And I saw it again this semester. And let me take this opportunity right now to offer my own personal thank you for those making the unselfish decision to abort your important mission so that these kids here can have their big day. I remember COVID, when you guys were given about 2 days to completely vacate the dorms. That same day, I also remember seeing one of my Calaveras Hall seniors sitting on a concrete bench right over there behind Wadsworth with her head in her hands, crying her eyes out because the day she worked so hard for 4 years ago was not to be. I remember seeing two seniors, two of my softball girls, my divas of the diamond, come through the front door of Courier House with knee and leg braces on with sad faces because they knew they would not be on the field for the last season of their lives. And let me tell you, if you've never seen the final game of any sport of a student athlete's career, it's pretty powerful stuff. And seeing these people say goodbye to something they've lived with, breathed since their youth is not describable. And of course, as we know, softball is by far the greatest game ever played. Love you guys. I remember working as a patrol officer in the yard and being called to a room in Canada AA entry for a lockout. Where's Forsheimer? Forsheimer? Where's the big dog? Where are you? Where are you, my man? Where are you? Stick your hand up. All right, here we go. The student's name is Logan Bednar. 6'3", 320-pound Harvard Crimson offensive lineman. When I unlocked the door for him, I could not believe how small his room was, about 6 feet wide and 10 feet front to back. To boot, and no pun intended, he had a foot injury, and the subsequent surgery and rehab required him to wheel around on that ridiculous little knee scooter. Excuse me. But there he went, rolling into his coffin with a smile on his face. I remember I was first amazed by the biggest kid on campus and his ridiculous little scooter billeted in a shoebox. But more importantly, I remember seeing how unfazed he was by this. I actually said, and not these exact words, "You gotta be kidding me." My point here is that through all these adversities and hardships, all of you had stayed the course and came out on top. You improvised, you adapted, and you overcame, and you didn't complain. You never complained. You guys have more reason to complain than anybody on the planet with the academic workload you have and the little time you have to sleep, and you do the least complaining. That's impressive to me. That's impressive. As parents, one of our biggest fears is that one day we will have no choice but to put our kids in the hands of other people. And in this world, that's terrifying. But, and I mean this, I have faith you guys will, just as you have survived this gauntlet, face the challenges before you. You will fix what me and my generation broke. You will work together with my kids, and you will all be safe together, and you'll make the world a better place. And I really believe that. The last story I want to leave you with doesn't have such a happy ending, but I believe the lesson is valuable. It was for me, and I think it will for you as well. Earlier in my speech, I mentioned DJ Monroe. About 2 years after DJ graduated and left here, he sent me a message on Facebook Messenger. It said, "Hey, Billy, I was just organizing my important document drawer, and I found your letter to me when I graduated." I made the important document drawer. Then we talked for a few minutes about football, motorcycles, guns, and family, and other things. He told me that he was working for the state of Florida and that he was given a full ride through the MBA program at Florida State. The world was his. And the last thing that kid ever said to me, "I've turned into a softie now that I've graduated. Thanks a lot, Billy. I'm going to cry myself to sleep now. Ha ha. Good to hear from you. I can't wait to crush a cup of cold one." A year later, I saw a post on his Facebook page with a notice of a missing person with his face on it. Everybody thought it was a joke, and people got angry about it and told other people to take it down. Unfortunately, it wasn't a joke. What had happened was that DJ had bought a brand new motorcycle and was going around a hairpin curve. His motorcycle lost control, and he swerved far enough into a tree line where he could not be seen from the road, and that's where he perished. They didn't find him for 2 days. The letter that I had written to DJ when he graduated was a heartfelt letter about the impact he had on my life and the tremendous respect I had for him. At first, I was hesitant to give it to him because I thought it may have been a little bit too heavy. I poured my heart out, but something told me to give it to him anyway. And as it turned out, I'm glad that I did give it to him, and I'm glad that he did not leave this life without knowing what he meant to me and so many others. The point I'm trying to make here is that if you have something to say to somebody, just say it, because you may not get another chance. There is no certainty. Over the past 4 years, all of you have gone through the most significant and difficult transitions of your life. Those standing beside you have pulled you through the hardest times of your life and have gotten you to this day. These people are your family, not just your friends or blockmates. You've been by each other's sides every day for 4 years, and now you'll all go in different directions and start your new lives. There is no certainty, and you'll be connected only by text messages and social media and phone calls. What I'd like to ask all of you to do right now is to please stand up. I'd like you to please turn to the person beside you and give him a hug. Brother man, I love you. I love you, pal. Thanks for everything.
Yeah. Group hug, group hug, group hug.
Group hug, group hug, group hug. I hope so. Bring it in. You get one all by yourself. Thank you. Well, finally we're here. At the conclusion, now is the time for you to depart and serve better thy country and thy kind. But still the question begs to be answered. Are you guys really the smartest kids in the world? I don't know, and I don't care. Never once in 14 years have I asked any of you kids what your GPA is. I just don't know. I just don't know, and I just don't care. But here's what I do know. You guys are the greatest kids in the world.
To be honest, I don't think that was loud enough. Can we give one more round of applause for Bill? Alrighty, I guess it's my turn. All right, my name is Chibikem Uche, a senior in Curry House. Go Quad. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and I'm the second class marshal for the class of 2024. Alrighty, so before I begin my speech, I'd love to give a shout out to my family who've stood by me and have always been there for me, especially my mother, Comfort Chidima Uche, and my father, Christian Ejikeme Uche. I love you guys. Appreciate y'all. All right.
That's my vodka, not yours.
Love you, Bill. It's safe to say our class is the most resilient class in the history of Harvard. And quite frankly, the greatest class in Harvard history. And maybe, just maybe, we are the greatest kids in the world. Love you, Bill. It's been an honor to witness our class's resiliency during our time here, and today is a celebration of the incredible accomplishments and fortitude of our class. So there's no equation to define our class's experience. You can try Googling it. I tried. I found nothing. But 4 years ago, many of us began our Harvard journey in the comfort or discomfort of our Zoom rooms. Fresh off our senior year of high school being radically disrupted in the midst of a global pandemic. It was hard to ever imagine having a normal Harvard experience. 4 years later, I can confidently say we have not had a normal Harvard experience. But even better, we made it our own. No matter the obstacles, no matter the hardships, no matter the difficulties, no matter the division, no matter the strife, we have always persevered. We have radically transformed what a normal Harvard experience entails, and instead we have forged our own paths and created a blueprint for future classes to navigate the sometimes, and in our case, oftentimes, stormy waters that we call Harvard. At the end of every storm is a beautiful rainbow. What began as a stormy Harvard experience produced some of the most beautiful, resilient, and vibrant people in this world, our class. So as we celebrate our Harvard experience today and begin adding another stop to our journey, always remember your experience here at Harvard. No matter what situation you may encounter, always remember you have the ability to transform your experience, continue to persevere, continue to be unique, and most importantly, continue to be yourself. If you're a baseball fan, you're going to get a kick out of this one. But down 3 runs, bases loaded, full count, bottom of the 9th, pressure at the highest, that's just how we like it. It's a home run every single time. So thank you to everyone who helped us along the way and who are joining us to celebrate today. Friends, family, and faculty, and to the class of 2024, congratulations. All right. So before we reach our conclusion, I would like to thank a few people who've helped this class tremendously along the way. To John, Paige, Lindsay, Sarah, the rest of the Harvard Alumni Association, and especially the 2024 class committee, thank you all so much for your relentless efforts and for working tirelessly to ensure our class had the most amazing senior year experience. Please join me in giving these amazing people a round of applause. All right, to actually conclude our program today, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our Class Day Otis. They will commemorate our 4 years here at Music, one of the most powerful means of collective reflection. The class ode will be performed by the Otis Isa Pena, accompanied by guitarist Brian Chang. You guys are truly in for a treat. Also, did I mention that Isa was on American Idol? So please join me in welcoming these incredibly talented individuals to the stage.
Though what happened happens tomorrow is ours to dream up. We'll remember this place where we've grown. Though we started apart, we all shared the same hope, felt that dream become splintered and scarred. Though at times we were drifting, we found our way home, and we planted our roots in this yard. Once we made our return, our ambitions were grand to accomplish our wildest goals. Published studies filled stadiums, lit up the stage, made a mark on our hearts and our souls. So we gather today with the ones that we love, from now on to be known as alum, for the years that have brought us together as one. Thank you, Harvard, for who we've become.